Welcome to Political Beatdown. Before we started, Cohen says, put your hands up over your face. You got to protect yourself. And frankly, you're right. We all have to protect ourselves from this fascist regime here in the United States.
You know, when I read your thing this morning, by the way, it's reminded me to tell you, put your hands up today, about how MAGA wants to come after the Midas Touch network and so on. Well, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck for anybody that wants to come after MTN.
The example I gave, Cohen, is when they came after you and we rallied around you, and it was not easy for you, but the community came through. They funded the legal defense. You hired the best.
Not all of it. Some of it. It still cost me plenty six figures. Let me be clear about that.
You defended yourself, and Trump dismissed that case when you said, look, I'm going to take your deposition. And so if Trump wants to bring a case against us for Epstein-related things, I'm ready for that deposition to take of Trump, and I'm ready to expose the truth. Let's talk about a few things to start, though. I don't want to lose track of all of the Epstein cover-up because the Trump regime wants us to do that. But, today was one of those days, Cohen, where we woke up to a horrible inflation report. We see inflation surging yet again, coming in higher than expectations. You have Trump saying that he's solved inflation and everything is great. One of the issues that I have as well is that when you look at the inflation barometers, right here, it's on the screen, inflation jumped 2.6% in June, its highest level since February. Core PCE inflation, excluding food and energy, ticked up to 2.8%. But inflation is measured based on something called the CPI, a Consumer Price Index. And it's all of this data that goes into the Consumer Price Index to see if prices are going up generally. Trump fired all of the people who collect that data. So like 2/3 of the inputs into CPI or more at this point are now estimates coming from the Trump regime. So we're not actually getting real data to even determine inflation. And all I can tell you is this. Like I saw, if you've been trying to get coffee recently, one of those Folger tubs, right? It used to be what, $12 or so. Now it's like $19. It was $12.
That's what I used to get when I was at Otisville, by the way. That's exactly what they used to sell us at the commissary.
That's what I see. Okay, when I go to the supermarket and I'm looking whether it's the price of beef on the shelves or the price of cheese or the price of whatever, anything, it's up kind of like that. To me, it's up more than 2.6%. And it's reaching levels that make it, absolutely, it's outrageous what's happening.
Hey, Ben, can I jump in for one quick second here? All right. When MAGA, when the GOP, when the independents that ended up voting for Trump in 2025, when they're going to ultimately turn around and say, holy shit, Ben Meiselas was right. Michael Cohen was right. Midas Touch Network was right. When you actually start paying attention, when you go to the supermarket, when you go to Costco, when you go to your Walmart or to your big box store, and what you used to pay $100 for, you're now paying $135, $132. Let me tell you something. When you're talking about people who are living tight, that $32, that 30% increase, it fucking stings because it's not just there that you're feeling it. You're feeling it in a multitude of areas because your dollar isn't going as far for you as it was before. And then and only then will they turn around and finally understand something that I have been yelling from the rooftops. I yell it so often my voice hurts. We as the Democrats, we as Midas Touch, we as individuals who are trying to build the biggest community so that we ensure the 2026 midterms go the right way, we need to come up with the right slogans, and everybody needs to use the same slogan in the same manner, in the same way, in the same form as the GOP does. Tariffs are taxes. Stick that on a fucking bumper, all right? Or consumers pay tariffs. How many people will argue to the death? Thank you. You could throw that up there. How many people will argue to their death that, nope, the country of origin is paying the tariff? It's not the consumer. Donald Trump and his administration, Howard Lutnick, Scott Bessent, and the other group of dopes have all turned around and said that they do not pay for tariffs, for the taxes. It's coming from the country of origin. When you go to the supermarket, when you go to your big box store and you can't buy the same for the same dollar amount, then and only then will you again start yelling, tariffs are taxes, and or consumers pay tariffs. Plain and simple.
You know what it's like, Cohen? Ponzi schemes inevitably run their course and people go, oh, wait a minute, where's my check? At some point the check comes due, and
it's in the mail.
You can say that for a long time, right? It's coming. Don't worry. Here are the returns. You're crushing it. Just let it sit a little bit long. Like Trump's doing the equivalent of that, but eventually the schemes stop at various points. Like his Epstein scheme, I think prematurely, I think he wanted to drag it a little more, but the regime around him was also so incompetent with what Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino were also so idiotic, in addition to being so dangerous, that they couldn't really execute the scheme the way Trump wanted to drag it out. So that one kind of ended. He's exposed and he's flailing there. One of the other ones that was clearly exposed, where he lost all control to lie about the narrative, was Putin, right? I mean, he said that he was going to end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. And you can only say that so many times before eventually people say, hey, you didn't do that. I mean, Cohen, last night, and brigaders, last night, one of the most deadly nights across Ukraine. Hundreds of drones, by the way, that Russia gets from Iran, dozens of ballistic missiles killing innocent people. A 6-year-old boy died. Lots of other people got killed. So where does Donald Trump go? That Ponzi scheme, has crashed into the wall also. And now Donald Trump goes to, one of his kind of stock lines when he hits the wall, which is, I was joking. I was being sarcastic. I didn't really mean it. You can't take what I say literally. You just kind of have to interpret it. So here's what he started saying about a month or so ago. And this is his line now when it comes to why he didn't stop the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. Here, let's play it.
I'm not understating the complexity of all this, but as a candidate, you said you would have this war settled in 24 hours.
Well, I was being a little bit sarcastic when I said that. What I really mean is I'd like to get it settled.
So this is why I start all my videos in the morning now, usually with an image from the war. And I should show images at the beginning of those videos also about what's going on in Gaza as well, because Trump promised to end the war in Gaza in 24 hours, and he didn't. And so when Trump, and by the way, Trump was like, remember back in February, Trump would joke about what was going on in Gaza and the atrocities there. He posted AI videos of himself and Netanyahu in front of Trump Gaza hotels, and his shirt was off and Netanyahu's shirt was off. And they had like weird, like belly dancers who strangely had beards for some reason. And then you had like, it looked like women who were not people's wives, I'll just say, like they're dancing and partying. It was a very strange video, but this is not, and when Donald Trump, what were the posts that he was doing this past week, saying like Obama is guilty of treason. It's time to, he posted this, Cohen, it's time to indict Obama, the traitor for treason. Be calm in the storm. We knew this day would come. That's a direct slogan from QAnon, which QAnon followers interpret to mean Donald Trump will uncover the pedo cabal, which is Democrats, according to QAnon, bring them on the steps of Capitol Hill and then behead them and hold up their heads while the blood gushes. That's what QAnon believes Trump will do, public executions. And then Donald Trump posts, until this happens, nothing will be changed. And it's a meme of Obama and others in his administration behind prison bars. This is,
I'm just thankful that I wasn't included in that picture.
Right, you'll be on the next one. But you were actually behind
and you'll
bars.
be next to me, buddy.
Well, I think I think the difference was you were actually in solitary confinement and you were behind bars. You got worse treatment than being on the meme. But Cohen, I always say, why? Why would we want somebody well, even if you are the most, whatever beliefs you, why would you want a clown to be running the United States who behaves this way? As I've always said, it's not a Democrat.
Sure, except Ben, here's the problem, right? I get your point. Your point is incredibly well taken. Here's the deal. Fair is fair. The guy actually won the election. He is the president, whether we like it or not for right now. Our job, the way I see it, is to ensure that our tripartite system of government, something he claimed during the campaign, that he had every intention to rewrite the Constitution, strip the legislative branch of their co-equal authority, which he has now effectively done. When you see somebody like Emile Beauvais just skate right through Senate confirmations, when you see people like Hegseth right through the confirmation, when you see the only one who didn't get confirmed was Matt Gaetz, and not even because of Trump, because they hated him for what he did to McCarthy, right? This is not balance of powers. This is not checks and balances, which is exactly the reason why our democratic republic has been successful in lasting for 250 years, because no one branch of government is supposed to be able to dictate to the other what is right, what is wrong. That we don't live in a monarchy. We live in a democratic republic. What's going on right now is it is being stripped from us each and every day. And if you think, as I wrote in my Substack a couple of days ago, and once again, thank you to MTN for putting it out there, because with the 6 million plus people between all of the social media, it really gets out there and people are reading it and understanding what I'm trying to say here. With all of this that's going on, just imagine how much worse it's going to be when the judiciary, who is already showing signs of breaking and cracking, when they fall in line the same way the legislative branch did, and the Supreme Court of the United States. Holy crap. Hold on, my friends, because it's going to be one wild fucking ride.
That's why when Caroline Leavitt speaks about the ballroom that they're going to tear down the East Wing and build the ballroom, to me, it's one of those things that actually matter. It really does, because it is yet another intrusion on the norms, right? Like, while you have all of this suffering taking place, while Americans are unable to afford homes, while wars are raging across the country, while Donald Trump has broken every promise, while he is disappearing human beings off the streets, creating alligator Alcatraz concentration camps, like, what's the focus? The focus is you're building golden ballrooms. And it doesn't make it better to me that he's getting private donations to build it. To me, it actually makes it much worse, because it's the people's house. It's not the Jeff Bezos house. It's not the
Mark Zuckerberg house. It's not the Elon Musk house, right?
It's not the Elon Musk house. And when those donors pay that money, it's a tribute to Donald Trump, not to our country. And in my view, it is a violation of the emolument clause. It's a violation of Congress's power to appropriate these types of things and legislate on these things. And and I had a few people who are influential people, I'll just say, asked me, do you think American people are actually mad about this? Like, do you think there's a lot of issues going on to focus on, right? Whether it's alligator Alcatraz, disappearing humans, ICE, horrible economy, Trump's cover up of Epstein, Trump's destroying the government, Trump's atrocities overseas, and the fact that the world's a less stable place. Like, do you think, Ben, that the American people want to see us bring a lawsuit to stop the East Wing? I say actually, hell yeah, because it is an intrusion. It is harassment. I view it as an assault on we the people. It's the people's house. And so if you want to change the monument that's been there. In my view, you should have to make a law and put members of Congress and put the public on notice and hear from people. And again, I don't want, by the way, do you think Trump's really going to put his personal money in? He'll probably put a small fraction.
Do you know
And
why
then
he's doing it, right?
I mean, there's a lot of reasons. I think he wants a monument to himself. It's the East Wing, which is Melania's wing. Why do you think so?
Because it will be forever known as the Trump Pavilion, the same way you have the Lincoln Room up in the West Wing, the same way that you have, certain names for various different rooms in the White House. This will forever be known as the Trump Pavilion. When the next president, or 20 years or 100 years down the road, that they're going to have a massive function at the White House. It will forever turn around and say on the invitation, it will be the Trump Ballroom at the White House. And, he cannot, a lot of people made fun at the very beginning when he first ran in 2016, saying he's going to put a gigantic Trump sign, a bronze lit up sign on top of the White House, change it to the Trump House. Right. And then for the second administration, they basically did the same thing. Well, you all know that that's just stupid talk. And we have to, as Democrats and as people who are sane, we actually have to act normally. We need to say smart things. You're not going to put a Trump sign on top of the White House. You don't need to at this point. You're just going to name a $250 million extension that's going to seat like 1,500 people in a massive ballroom that is going to adorn his name. It will be known as the Trump Ballroom, the Trump Pavilion, or some other catchy name. And it will go like that forever. Mind you, he's not just doing that to the White House. He's doing it now, or wanting to do it, to the Kennedy Center. He's doing it all over the place, where everything is being renamed Trump, 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 Trump. I mean, it's very much like the concept of a monarchy. When you go, for example, to, say, North Korea, right? You're going to, the Kim Jong-un Pavilion. When you're going off to Saudi Arabia, right? It's the Mohammed bin Salman Airport or whatever. I mean, this is what they do. They put their name everywhere because the way he sees it, it's not our country, it's his country. We're just here for the ride.
I'll show you over here. Here's Caroline Leavitt, Donald Trump's chief propagandist. The reporter asks her, how much of the East Wing will be torn down? Here's how she describes it. Let's play it.
Jennifer, go ahead. Eager beaver today.
How much of the East Wing will be torn down? The entire East Wing or just parts of it?
So the East Wing is going to be modernized. The necessary construction will take place. And for those who are housed in the East Wing, including the office of the First Lady, the White House Military Office, the White House Visitors Offices, those offices will be temporarily relocated while the East Wing is being modernized.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's unbelievable. First of all, because Melania's never there, right? So it's not going to interfere with her operation. They'll just build it above this ballroom. Look, I'm all for updating things and making it better and so on, but there has to be a process. There's always a process for everything. I don't care if it's going to the podiatrist to have your toenail cut. I don't care if it's going to the barber to get your hair cut. There's always a process, right? You don't wash your hair after they cut it. You wash it before. I mean, you need to go to Congress to appropriate. There should be more than just one person dictating, hey, I'm going to go reach out to an architect. First of all, I mean, think about when they went ahead and they did that over at the Louvre, right? And I think it was named, I Am Pei, ended up winning the contest because the people of France said, hey, that's kind of cool, the glass pyramid, in order to go down. Yeah, this is really neat one. You're talking about a building that was originated starting in the 1500s and so on. Yeah, this is a really new way to modernize it. Great. Don't we get a say in the people's house? No. They went ahead, they reached out to an architect, he turned around and he said, look, why don't you just go ahead, do what I did over at the Doral, put in a bill, make it a little bit bigger, go a little wider, maybe a little higher, put in some really super expensive chandeliers and lighting fixtures and so on. We're going to put down the famous Trump carpet that we do all everywhere, da, da, da. And so we don't have a say in anything, but it is our house. That's the whole point. How come Congress isn't standing up and screaming, wait. We're supposed to be involved in this as well. Shouldn't a committee be set up? Or is it just like, you know what? I don't know, bring in some swaths of carpet and I'll tell you which one I like. I mean, this is not the Doral. This is not Bedminster. This is not Briarcliff or Aberdeen or any of his other properties. This is the White House, for God's sakes.
You know, then you have in that same disastrous press conference, you have Caroline Leavitt begging for a Nobel Peace Prize for Donald Trump. And she goes, do you all realize that Donald Trump has brokered one ceasefire every month since he's been in office? Rwanda and Congo, Donald Trump did it. India and Pakistan, Donald Trump did it. Thailand and Cambodia, Donald Trump did it. Here, let me just show you what went down here. Play this clip.
On the peace front, President Trump helped deliver an immediate and unconditional ceasefire between Thailand and Cambodia. The two countries were engaged in a deadly conflict that had displaced more than 300,000 people until President Trump stepped in to put an end to it. The president spoke directly on the phone with the acting Prime Minister of Thailand and the Prime Minister of Cambodia to inform both leaders that unless they brought their conflict to an end, there would be no trade discussions or agreements with the United States. Almost immediately afterward, a peace was brokered that will save thousands of lives and allowed for trade negotiations with these countries to resume, and they have. The president has now ended conflicts between Thailand and Cambodia, Israel and Iran, Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, India and Pakistan, Serbia and Kosovo, and Egypt and Ethiopia. This means President Trump has brokered, on average, about one peace deal or ceasefire per month during his 6 months in office. It's well past time that President Trump was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize.
There's so much wrong with that. It's so pathetic. Also, like her delivery, you know, like those movies.
Wait,
like
are you trying to say that? Are you trying to say that that's not true, Ben?
I'm trying to say that all of it is not true, but even the cadence and her delivery. Remember those movies back like in the early 1990s, like Judge Dredd or like Demolition Man or like,
Sure.
And they would have like, or Starship Troopers, right? Where they would portray like the fascist regimes of the future. And you would have like a lady, like she literally is that, like we are there right now. Donald Trump stopped the war in Serbia and Kosovo. No, he didn't. What are you talking about? He stopped the war between Egypt and Ethiopia. Look, Donald Trump said he was going to end 2 wars. That's what the promise was. Not that new wars would start, okay? He was going to end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours, he said, which he's made things absolutely worse in Ukraine right now, and he's emboldened Putin. And Trump promised that he would end the war in Gaza. And right now, the atrocities in Gaza are the most horrible thing taking place right now, as Trump gives his unconditional support to everything that Netanyahu is doing, as we see people starving and dying in Gaza every single day. In fact, Donald Trump posted last night at like midnight that it will make it much more difficult to do a trade deal with Canada because Canada acknowledges the existence of a Palestinian state. So right now, Donald Trump's saying, you know, this is why you can't do a deal with Donald Trump, because he's always going to put some other stupid condition on you or dangerous condition on you and bully. So now, if you believe that Palestine should exist and be a state, you can't trade with the United States. And Trump wants a Nobel Peace Prize, arguably responsible, not arguably, for likely responsible for more deaths across the world than any United States president, like, you know, in a humanitarian case. I mean, the guy who got rid of USAID and literally killed people who had HIV turning into AIDS, and gave all these kids, and as a result, all of these kids who could have avoided having HIV contracted HIV because overnight Trump stopped giving the funding? Or we had hundreds and hundreds of tons of the right types of food that we could have saved starving people, but then Donald Trump said, nah, let's incinerate the food rather than feed people.
See, that's the mistake, Ben, that Trump is making here. First of all, trade deals are not going to stop the war, all right? In fact, we're in such what he probably should have done, and stay with me, because I want you to join me in this as a legitimate discussion. If I was in the circle and I was sort of advising him, I would ensure that the United States military were driving those 1,800 vehicles that are loaded with food, right, to centers. And here's my comment to Hamas, to those that are in Gaza. I don't care if you have to jump in front of a bullet to protect a U.S. military. If one military member is injured or killed while making this humanitarian run, we're coming in with the full force of the U.S. military, and we will obliterate everything that we think is Hamas. Plain and simple. We're going in on a humanitarian mission. We're going to feed these starving people, plain and simple. All right. We're going to bring it in. We're going to leave. All right. Anything happens. Now, if Hamas wants this shit to stop, which they should, and I know the people of Palestine want this to stop because they are hungry. They are dying to try to get a life back. You know what they need to do? Seriously? Release the freaking hostages already. Release them. Put down your weapons and call this a day. All right? You started something you couldn't finish. There was no way that you were going to get this past where you're at. You've kept these people for, what is it, a year and a half now? Enough is enough. Put down your weapons. Release the hostages alive, right? Those that are alive and the bodies of those that are deceased, and sit down and try to figure out a two-state solution. That's what Trump, as the leader of the free world, should be doing. Not sitting there placating, Netanyahu. Oh, if you don't stop this, we're not going to send any more weapons. Meanwhile, those weapons are already paid for, right? Congress has already allocated it. You can't just stop it. He tried that with Ukraine once. That didn't work. Let's sit down. Get the hostages back. Number one. Two, Hamas, lay down your weapons. And three, let's feed these people. Let's start to rebuild Palestine, and let's try to come up with a two-state solution so this never happens again. Isn't that what a leader's supposed to do?
Yeah, but Trump isn't a leader. Trump is just, hey, Bibi, what do you want to do, Bibi? I think that it should be just no Palestine. Okay, Bibi, whatever you want, Bibi. That's what.
Okay, Bibi, we'll take care of it. No
I think that we should move them to Egypt. Okay, sure, whatever you want to do. And it is offensive. It is absurd. And you go back. Remember when Donald Trump was like, Hamas, we're giving you your last and final warning, whatever it was, like in February on Sunday, and then it's just 2 weeks, 7 days, 30 days, 50 days, 12 days, 600 billion. He just the numbers are made up. America's never been weaker, and you're not ever going to get a deal at all if you start with the premise publicly as well that you can't do business with America, Canada. You can't do business with America if you believe there should be a two-state solution, which in my view should not be a controversial thing. I think we should all want to support a two-state solution. We should all want there to be a free Palestine existing side by side with the free Israel. To me, that's and now the United States' position is that can't take place at all, and we're not even going to do a trade deal with you if you feel that way. Look, good for Canada standing up. I know the deadline's approaching for Trump's fake deal. We saw Mexico get a 90-day extension on the deal after Trump said no extensions at all. So we'll see what Canada does. But, I appreciate that Canada standing up for its sovereignty is led by someone like Mark Carney, who is someone who was a central banker, who knows how to do deals, who's able to see through the BS that Trump is doing. We'll see where that goes. We're going to take our first and only break of the show. We come back, Cohen will give the 2-finger salute. A reminder, subscribe to Cohen Substack and our Substack at the Midas Touch and Cohen Substack. Go to patreon.com/political beatdown. We'll be doing another meetup there soon as well. Subscribe to the Mea Culpa audio podcast, wherever you get your audio podcasts. Big news, Midas Touch was #1 YouTube podcast, and Mea Culpa was in the top 100, top 80.
70. I think number 70.
Of all YouTube channels in the world. That's a big deal. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. Oh, and we have a big event with Adam Mockler. Do we have the graphic at all? The Won't Back Down Midas Touch event will be taking place on Sunday, August 3rd in Phoenix, Arizona.
How come my picture's not up there?
Our very own, because you're not the host. Our very own Adam Mockler will be hosting the event with Senator Chris Murphy, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, and Congresswoman Ansari. Go to Won't Back Down Tour to book your place. I'm pretty sure it's all booked, but try it. All right, we'll be right back.
All right, so picture this. I'm on my way out the door, trying to look halfway respectable for a meeting, and boom. Marlo, you've heard Marlo, my neighbor's cat, sprawled across the hallway like he pays rent. Cute little furball, right? Wrong, because 5 minutes later, I'm sneezing like I just walked through a field of ragweed in a wind tunnel. I mean, I don't even own a cat, and I'm still dealing with cat allergens. The whole thing is just totally unreal. This episode of Political Beatdown is brought to you by Pacgen. Now, if you've got a cat, or in my case, a neighbor's cat who thinks he's mine, you don't have to surrender your sinuses to the feline overlords. You see, almost 20% of people suffer from cat allergens, and 3 in 4, they're not thrilled with the so-called solutions that are out there. That's where Pacgen steps in. Pacgen's cat allergen neutralizing spray, it's like sending a tactical team into your living room. And it doesn't mess with your immune system. It goes straight after the actual allergens in your home, and it breaks them down with no pills, no shots, no voodoo, just science. You see, it turns out that the problem isn't the fur. It's the saliva. Cats groom like it's their job. And FeLD1, that's the protein behind most cat allergens. It's all over their adorable faces. Now, Pacgen's patent-pending whisker block protein, it binds and it neutralizes these FeLD1. No harsh chemicals, no side effects. I literally sprayed some around last week before my buddy who dropped by. And he's one of those that I'll die if I breathe near a cat type. And for literally the first time, no red eyes, no wheezing, just him wondering if Marlo had moved out of the building. It's effective, safe, and made for people who love their pets or their neighbor's pets, but not the sneezing fits. Got a dog? Dust allergies? Pacgen's got sprays for that too. I love that they're not trying to trick your immune system. They're just handling the source of the problem. Smart, simple, and safe for both people and pets. Your pets aren't just pets. They're family, right? So get the relief you need with Pacgen. Head right now to pacgen.com/beat for an extra 25% off your order and an exclusive gift for our listeners at checkout. That's pacgen.com/beat for an extra 25% off your order and an exclusive gift. One last time, Pacgen, pacgen.com/beat for an extra 25% off and a gift auto apply to checkout. Because listen, if I can live peacefully with Marlo, you can live peacefully with your pets too. Boom,
Great
boom,
ad
boom.
read there, Mike. Great ad read there, Michael Cohen.
Shocked that they don't put me on their national ad read.
I'm shocked.
Me too. I'm just shocked.
I'm shocked too. The discount codes are in the description below. Have you seen this, Cohen? It's the latest polling from Gallup. How Americans identify. I know there's a lot of this doom and gloom about people saying, they, don't support the Democratic Party, or there's not a lot of energy around the Democratic Party. Let me give you the key data points here. I think we have this Gallup poll, which shows that I think it's 46% of Americans identify as Democrat. Yeah, identify as Democrats now. 43% identify as Republicans. It's Republicans going down 5 points from 2024. I think that's a pretty big deal right there. Also, when you look at motivation to vote, Republicans are at like 50%. Democrats are at about 75%. Like my view of it is that because the Democratic Party is not like a cult, we can be very critical and disappointed at what the party's doing and not fighting strong enough. And if you were to poll a lot of people and who are Democrats and say, are you happy with the work that the Democrats are doing? It's very easy to answer no, because of what exists with Trump right now. We want to see more fighting, right? We want to see more pushback. And because it's not a cult, it's okay to say that. Now, that doesn't mean we're not motivated as hell to get rid of this MAGA fascist movement. And I think that's where the polls don't fully capture the sentiment of what's going on with no kings, and at a local level, what is happening in communities and districts, which is why you have the Trump regime so focused on the unlawful gerrymandering in Texas and trying to remove all Democratic seats because they are afraid that they're going to be wiped out in the midterms. And if they get wiped out in the midterms, then there's going to be investigations into Trump and into his criminality and into all of the stuff.
And I'm not so sure that it's really the investigations that there is worried about as much as it is that he'll ultimately become a lame duck president for the course of the next, say, 2 years, that they will never allow the things to go on as they are right now, which is all Trump has to do is, put anybody. I mean, he could put Marlowe, for example, up for Supreme Court, and the senators, right, would turn around. The Republican senators would pass Marlowe 1, 2, 3, right? They would ask him a question. He'd say, wow, wow. And the next thing you know, yeah, he's qualified. All right. This is the part where he wants to have complete and total autonomy about, I have a thought, therefore it is. I mean, that's the big problem. It's not, yes, the investigations will start. There's no doubt that you're going to have the chairs of the various committees turning around and saying, okay, we want the Epstein file in full, unredacted. We will make a decision on what documents. They don't want any of this across the board. They want to have complete and total control with no interference from anybody. And you know what? That's what he's getting with the Republican Party. That's what he's getting. But I do have to turn around and say, Ben, I see it a little bit different than you do, my brother. I really do. While I agree with you that Democrats are, especially by these polls, more apt to get out and to vote in the midterm elections. We've heard this same story before, right? When we watched and we saw, for example, and I was there at Kamala Harris's at the DNC, and the enthusiasm and the way she was filling up the stadiums, and you and I were showing people walking out of the various different rallies of Trump. Lo and behold, he won the election. And I know people who are following us right now will be like, oh, fuck you, Cohen, right? He didn't win. They stole the election. Stop it. All right. We don't play the Republican game here. All right. Not in my house anyway. All right. The bottom line, he took all 7 swing states, unfucking precedented. And that's why we have to stay vigilant. I beg each and every one of you. You see how, for example, Midas now has over 5 million followers? 5 million's not enough. It's a great number. Don't get me wrong. We need 10 million. If each and every one of you asks one friend to become a Midas Mighty, just one friend, you have 10 million overnight. And then imagine you ask the 10, go find one more friend, one more. You now have 20 million. We're making a difference for the midterm elections. We are not going to allow what happened in 2025 to happen again in 2026. And I am of the mindset that I will keep pushing day in and day out, because I know what I'm talking about. I was there in the 2016. I was there in 2011 when he first thought about it. I was there in 2016. All right. Yeah, I was incarcerated in 2020. Big deal. All right. I'm telling you right off the bat, I see what's happening. And Democrats, I don't care what the poll says, we are not. We are not unified as a party. We don't have the leadership behind us right now. You have guys like Ken Martin who, other than sending you a text every single day asking for money, what are they doing? Why is nobody out there? Like if I was out there right now, I would be screaming from the top of my lungs about what's taking place in Texas. Yes, to those assholes that are trying to piss me off. Yes, they are out there trying to rig the midterm elections by gerrymandering. All right. It's not the 10-year census time. There's no reason for it. There needs to be better rules, but we don't control the House. We don't control the Senate. We're never going to be able to do it while the Republicans are in control. It's why I keep saying so many times again and again and again, you must join the community. You must be a part of this. You need to be the active voice. You need to be the extension of Midas Touch Network, of Michael Cohen, of all of the people that are affiliated to Midas. Why? Because together we win. Divided, we're dead. Plain and simple.
You know, and meanwhile, you have Caroline Levitt at that press conference earlier today saying, all of the experts who said there was inflation are wrong. There's no inflation. We are doing exactly what the Fed has said. Inflation's at 2%. Things are perfect. Here's what Caroline Levitt said. Let's play it.
The same so-called experts claimed that President Trump's tariffs would spike inflation and hurt American consumers. But consumer spending growth just accelerated and inflation remains right on track. For the past 5 straight months, core inflation has come in below market expectation and remains in line with the Fed's 2% inflation target.
Okay, false. Then Donald Trump says we've dealt with inflation and inflation solved. It's done. It's perfect. Here, play the clip.
It almost feels like an unforced error. You know, if you think inflation I've already taken care of, prices are way down for everything, groceries, everything.
You know, they just say those things and there's no truth to it at all. like at all. I mean, you look at the inflation data today, I showed it at the beginning of the episode, and you look at core inflation and you look at, inflation generally, and, you're talking about 2.8%, 2.6%, up more than anybody, expected it was going to be. And you look at what Doge has done. Doge has crippled federal government, but the government's actually spending more right now than it did last year at the same time. And then you have people like Doug Burgum, right? The Secretary of Energy. All of these social media accounts are just like clownish. They're like, what do you call them? Just like mockery accounts. Just shit posting basically. So here they post an image of Cole, and then it goes, she is the moment, with a photo of Cole. She's an icon. She's a legend, and she is the moment. And then Doug Burgum goes on TV, representing the United States as the Department of Energy, and is like, this is why we're shutting down all wind projects. We're shutting down all solar. We're leaning into coal because when it gets dark out, solar doesn't work. When it gets less windy, you can't do any type of wind energy. You can't do windmills. It's like, that's just not the way batteries work. That's not the way energy is stored. It's just the worst people. And, they're either playing dumb in order to ingratiate themselves with Trump, or they're really this dumb, and it's across the board. So here, let me show you Burgum. Let's play this clip of him.
Are still a lot of wind projects that are moving forward, and the ones in the ocean as well, Empire Wind, Vineyard Wind, are those going to be stopped as a result of this?
Well, I think the big thing, Martha, is with the One Big Beautiful Bill has taken a major step forward, and finally, after 33 years, phasing out these just massive subsidies that were creating essentially tax schemes as opposed to power generation projects for wind and solar. And with the phase out of those, I mean, I think we're going to see almost zero applications for new projects that come in, because 70% of the value of a wind project, perhaps even more for offshore wind, which was very expensive, was the value of the tax credit. And of course, President Trump is for reliable, affordable American energy. And when you talk about wind and solar, you've got something that is absolutely intermittent. It's unreliable because it's dependent on the weather.
That's not true. And then you have the Secretary of Transportation, who got famous by being on the Real World reality show and the Real World Road Rules Challenge, Sean Duffy. He was asked a question by Fox about, there's been all of these near air misses where oftentimes a commercial jet is about to either crash into like a military plane that they weren't able to see, or another commercial jet. There's been very, very, very many close calls lately, but this is how Sean Duffy responds to it. Here, play this clip if we got it in a little bit. But I bet you could predict what he's going to say. Well, here it is. Let's play it.
Advice. I want to ask about the hearings on the Hill. We can put up a timeline of these recent near misses. You've expressed concern about it. What do we need to know based on what you've learned so far?
Well, what you need to know is the last administration didn't pay attention to some very risky signs that were taking place in the D.C. airspace. They didn't care about safety. They cared about DEI. They cared about pushing a green agenda. That was the mission of DOT, but the true mission really is safety. And so we've looked at DCA. We've restricted.
You know, it's just, you know, it's like, oh, it's the Biden's fault. It's all Biden's fault. It's Obama's fault from 2016. Wow, 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 wow.
It's very clear, Ben, all right? The only place that they're going to go and to say this stupidity, these lies, this bullshit, is on Fox News.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't want any pushback at all. The other day I was watching and I saw literally Howard Lutnick talking to Sean Hannity. The amount of lies that came out of both of their mouths in a period of 8 minutes, the segment, 8 minutes, was remarkable. It would be, Ben, if I turn around and I told you that right now I'm in Alaska, it's snowing out. I just watched as a meteor shower took place. Later tonight, I'm watching the Knicks, who are coming to Alaska to play. And you start making all this crazy shit up. And all of a sudden, you turn and you're like, is this guy lost his freaking marbles? Right? And then you turn around and you're like, Michael, I got to tell you, who's talking about climate change when it's snowing outside and it happens to be July 31st? And you're like, yeah, Ben, I mean, I don't get it. You know, they're talking about climate change. And then you sit there and you say to yourself, at what point in time do we, the public, even though we don't watch Fox News, some of us get forced to watch it because we need to report on it. Or if you happen to be in an airport, I don't know how come it's only set to Fox News, but I'm sitting there and I'm saying to myself, how do we stop the people like Greg Gutfeld? How do we stop the people like Jesse Waters, like Sean Hannity, like Laura Ingraham, and so many others from continuing to promote lie after lie after lie after lie after lie? And they say it like Caroline Levitt does, with such fervor, right? With such commitment, as if the more that you repeat the lie, the more that the lie becomes the truth. That we can't allow.
Two-finger salute, Cohen. Who's it go to today?
It's got to go back to Caroline Levitt. I'm so sorry. You know, I kind of hate the fact that she's going to get it again, right? Simply because it's just so easy to give it to her. I get it. She's got a rough job. You got to try to manage the comms department there for Trump. You don't know what he's going to say 5 minutes after you say it or 5 minutes before you actually said it. But the fact that she goes on and she actually attacks journalists that are asking questions to the point that they don't even feel comfortable in asking a follow-up question when they should know right off the bat, be able to fact check this on the spot. That is a lie. All right. Ben, you and I, if we were sitting there in the briefing room, could you imagine what that soundbite would look like? Ms. Levitt, I'm terribly sorry, but the numbers that you're spewing are absolutely inaccurate. In fact, let me give you some legitimate numbers. They don't want legitimate numbers. They want their numbers their made up numbers to become the fact. And they want you to continue to promote the lie. And again, the way Stalin used to do it, you repeat the lie enough, the lie becomes the truth. Everything is great. Donald Trump stopped 5 wars, right? Very soon, within 2 weeks, Hamas is going to turn over the hostages, God willing, in 2 weeks. That this is going to all stop with the bombing and the attacks in Gaza. In 2 weeks, it's going to Russia's going to withdraw from Ukraine because Donald said so. In 2 weeks, I mean, everything is going to be in 2 weeks. That every single one of the 200 countries that are involved right now in trade deals are all going to capitulate. They're all going to pay. We're going to be receiving, as the United States, in 2 weeks, something like $37 trillion worth of investment. I mean, the numbers just don't add up. Remember, my friends, the entire United States GDP is $27.8 trillion. It's a massive amount of money, but it ain't 37 trillion of investment from countries that don't even have a GDP that could sustain the amount that allegedly Trump is having them pledge to the United States. You know, there's that old expression, numbers don't lie, people do. So Caroline, to you, 2-finger salute, babe.
Everybody remember to subscribe to the Mea Culpa audio podcast. It's a great podcast. Wherever you get your audio podcasts, download it. Wherever, you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to @The Michael Cohen Show's YouTube. That's Michael Cohen's YouTube account, @The Michael Cohen Show. Subscribe there. Help Michael get to 1 million subscribers on YouTube. Cohen's got a Substack. Just search Michael Cohen's name on Substack. The Midas Touch has a Substack as well. Cohen contributes to our Substack as well. We repost his articles there, or you can just check him out at Michael Cohen's Substack. What else? Make sure you subscribe to the Midas Touch YouTube channel. We got patreon.com/political beatdown as well. Subscribe there. Cohen and I will be holding some more Zoom meetings with all of our brigaders there as well. And make sure you tune in to the show with me and my brothers tonight at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Great live show there that I am excited to do. All right, we'll see you next time on Political Beatdown. Make sure you keep checking the Midas Touch feed every 90 minutes for new videos here. As always, Cohen,
and please,
see you later.
Please, each and every one of you, bring one person. For next week, bring one person to the Midas